Tuesday, April 25th. Fairly short class period thing. I'm just going to be getting into a bit more outsiders and doing the talky thing. I figure most of you were probably here today because it was the iLearn test, but who knows? We'll find out. Let's see. The outsiders quiz is up on Skyward, so if you end up seeing that, you should be good to go from there. If you want to open up book, or if you look in there where if you want to write things down, I will give you our next checkpoints so you have an idea of what is coming up. I think page 130 is the end of chapter 8. I'm making sure I don't lie to you. Oh. Yes.
Yeah.
That is what is due next Monday.
What?
So page 130, if you want to write in there, that is what's due Monday. Then page 90-something is what's our next one is due.
Mr. Brovicast, page 38 is not. 138.
Correct. Yeah. So page 99 is where I'll be talking up through tomorrow, because I am talking about chapters 5 and 6 tomorrow. We'll start chapter 5 today, but I won't be able to read all of it with you. Plus, tomorrow, the iLearn, you're going to have like an hour after the test tomorrow, because it's a really long test, well, a really long amount of time for a very short test.
Oh no, I'm slow.
So the way it's going to work is you'll probably have a lot of time to do reading tomorrow, but I am going to be starting and talking about all of chapters 5 and 6. And then Monday of next week, I will have quiz up through the end of page 130. And then we'll have next week, and then we will have the last quiz over the end of book. Hi, Brady.
Hi. Okay, so I think that you shouldn't have a quiz because you're kind of testing.
Done. So then we have homework this week. We're going to do homework each day over each of the chapters. If I don't do...
It was a joke.
Oh. I was like, I'm happy to go either way. I can either do homework or a quiz.
No thanks.
No quiz just means we have to do homework instead. Jonathan.
So do we have, are we reading Outsiders tomorrow in class?
No. I will be talking about chapter 6 tomorrow in class.
Okay.
I haven't even read chapter 5.
Thursday, we will not have a chance because we'll be in library pretty much the entire class period. So, and then Friday, I'm going to begin reading chapter 7 with you, and then you're going to have to do 7, or half of 7, and then 8 on your own. I told you, I will try to read a lot to you, but you do have to be able to read some on your own, or don't read on your own, and then just accept whatever happens to you.
Did we already read chapter 5?
You mean the one we're starting in class today?
Yeah.
Paying attention. Nothing bad happens when you get made fun of. Let's see. Tomorrow we have the rest of English. Tomorrow's the writing of the essay. Next week we have 2 more iLearn tests. Those are the math tests next week. So we have math next Tuesday, math next Wednesday. Then we're done with iLearn. And if you are wanting to turn in the shoes for B points, I don't know when it ends because they've not put in the announcements, but it goes, I think, through next week. Essentially, every pair of shoes you bring in gets you 5 B points. And you have to bring them in as a pair. I don't want a single shoe that does nothing.
Why?
So, and it can be your shoes, it can be a parent's shoes, it can be younger sibling shoes. It's just looking for a pair of shoes. They should not be like shoes you use for mowing that look nasty and have green stains, but they don't have to be perfect as long as they're in decent shape, and then they're using them to help people in need. Bring them to me, and then I will give you points. You get up to a maximum of 15 points, which means you can bring in up to 3 pairs of shoes. Also, tomorrow's the last day for the peanut butter and jelly donation that I just found out about, so I wasn't really advertising it, but if you bring in peanut butter or the jelly unopened, not like in your pocket, then I can give you points for that also, and I can give you 3 points for each of those things. But it ends tomorrow, and I don't know if we'll have time, but the shoes you should have time for. Now we're good with that. All right. Schedule that we have, this is for today, and then again for tomorrow, and then again for next week, just so you have an idea of what we have coming up. So it goes from period 4, and you're going to go second period. Yes, you can take a picture of it. That's why I'm putting it up there. So you have second, third, and then 5, 6, 7. Tomorrow, normal class, but best, you will not be in your normal best tomorrow. Best tomorrow, you will be wherever you are going for day of service. So you will be spending time with your day of service teacher during best tomorrow. And we're going to be going through and talking about that. And then Friday is the normal class.
Thursday.
Thursday. So best on Thursday, as you can see from the thing in front of me. Yes, putting up with you guys screaming at each other for an amount of time seems to have impacted my brain. Who would have thought?
Who was screaming?
Hey, you let it
You see,
happen.
it's, yes, that was me trying to be nice to you. I'll never do it again.
She was lying.
that.
I apologize. She was good at saying it and then looking away so that I wouldn't suspect her, and you looked at me so I couldn't tell which sassy kid it was. I apologize for accusing you of sass. I now know where the sass comes from. See, we have this quiz. Everyone in here has turned it in. I have kids in other classes who have not. Oh, I did go through and look at each class period to see what the average grade was. I had one class period where the average was a D. It was not this class.
Yay.
That was crazy.
I think I got a D.
The class after this. I did have a class where the average was a B plus.
That's us.
That was this class.
Oh.
And then my other two classes averaged in the B minus. So you guys averaged for the highest grade. And then my one other class period, they bragged about the fact that they have done no reading whatsoever, and it showed in their grades. For you guys, I have no idea, but apparently you do your information because you did well.
I know what.
Hi, B.
Is it 23 a B?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Good math. All right. I got it.
Can we like keep doing like before like every test, like outside of test? Can we keep doing
I
like
am doing that for these, yes. I plan on doing the same thing again next Monday. I will go back over them. Because I've learned that if you've not read, it doesn't seem to help you. Because as my fifth period demonstrated, they've not read at all, and then they did not do well. Whereas if you did,
I read it. I just I didn't remember.
Whereas if you've read at least and understand some of it, then it seems to help you out. And I'd much rather you guys get help and be somewhat smart than just
Do
be
you
able
have a
to.
sped class?
No, I just have my normal classes that are special.
Yes, he does. We're on spec class.
We're special.
Wait, is that attacking?
It's hard to tell. So, I am going to start chapter 5 with you. I will not get a chance to end through chapter 5, but I can try to get through as much as we can. Hi, V.
Can you tell me at the end what page we end at? Because I want to listen.
Sure, that's fine. That's too much work. Come on, what are you talking about? Look at you telling jokes.
I'm too tired.
Yeah, she's too tired. Look how sleepy she is. She's a sweepy one.
No one likes. What is? Before we start,
Hi,
I
what's
have a
up?
question. You know
Uh-huh.
that sub we have, right?
What?
The sub. I don't remember if it was Thursday or Friday, but they said we were the advanced class. I know that's a lie. We are not
It was
smart.
Friday.
You are correct.
If we were in advance, we were reading.
Last year, my
the
fourth
gospel.
period was advanced, and so this is probably left over from that.
If we were in advance, we wouldn't be reading this book. We would be reading
Correct.
the gospel.
Alright.
We're still smart though,
Are we
right?
reading the gospel next?
No. Chapter 5, page 68. Home children, here's where I get a chance to read to you to try and help out.
Oh, I already read 2 pages.
Oh, look at you. Oh,
I was after test.
I'm so happy for you. Oh, let me go ahead and put the picture up there. Picture. Because they left at the end of chapter 4, and where did they go to?
The church.
So I found picture of old broken down church. There's old broken down church for you. I know, it's adorable, right?
That's from.
I should live there.
I agree.
That was in a movie. I don't remember which one.
Me either. I just found it on the internet.
The buddies one with the dogs. What? Dog?
Buddies and dogs.
I woke up late in the afternoon. For a second, I didn't know where I was. You know how it is when you wake up in a strange place and wonder where in the world you are until memory comes rushing over you like a wave. I have convinced myself that I had dreamed everything that had happened the night before. I'm really home in bed, I thought. It's late, and both Derry and Soda Pop are up. Derry's cooking breakfast, and in a minute, he and Soda will come in and drag me out of bed and wrestle me down and tackle me until I think I'll die if they don't stop. It's me and Soda's turn to do the dishes after we eat, and then we'll all go outside and play football. Johnny and Two-Bit and I will get Derry on our side since Johnny and I are so small and Derry's the best player. It'll go like the usual weekend morning. Now, to pause, it is currently in the book-wise Saturday morning. It started Thursday afternoon with him coming home from the movie theater, and that's when he got jumped by the Socias. That was the Thursday afternoon. And then Friday night they went out to the drive-in theater, and that's when they picked up the girls, and he got slapped by his brother, and then he ran away. That was Friday night. And then this is the next morning. They're waking up at the church. This is Saturday morning. I tried telling myself that while I lay on the cold rock floor, wrapped up in Dally's jacket, and listening to the wind rushing through the trees' dry leaves outside. Finally, I quit pretending and pushed myself up. I was stiff and sore from sleeping on that hard floor. But I'd never slept so soundly. I was still groggy. I pushed off Johnny's jeans jacket, which had somehow gotten thrown across me, and blinked, scratching my head. It was awful quiet, just the sound of rushing wind in the trees. Suddenly, I realized that Johnny wasn't there. "Johnny!" I called loudly. That old wooden church echoed me. "Honey, honey, honey, honey." I looked around wildly, almost panic-stricken, but then caught sight of some crooked lettering written in the dust on the floor. "Went to get supplies. Be back soon. JC." Right over there. Do you guys know who the JC is?
Johnny in the last name.
Johnny Cade. Making sure, because I've always assumed everyone knew it was Johnny that wrote it, but last year I had a kid, when I got done with that part, went, "Jesus?" And I went, "What?" They went, "Jesus Christ." And I went, "What are you?" And they're like, "JC, Jesus Christ." I'm like, "Oh God, no." I'm like, "That is not, Jesus did not come back." And he was like, "Hey, what up, homies?" And then like right in the dust. So now I'm just worried that kids don't know the difference. Hi, V.
How old is Johnny?
16. So he's 16 and Pony Boy's 14. I sighed and went, so this next part he's going to talk about getting water from the little pump thing. When you guys were at camp, that if you had not the water from the things you filled your bottles with, but like brushing your teeth or showers, if it had like a weird smell or taste to it, it's because it's well water and it just means it's not filtered as much. That's what they have here. He's going to talk about the fact that
Unfiltered water?
I know you could be wait, you're not. You're fine.
Is it like the thing when you pull it up, like? Yeah, I got that at my it's like a school near my granny's house. I drank out of it. I didn't even do nothing.
I sighed and went to the pump to get a drink. The water from it was like liquid ice and it tasted funny, but it was water. I splashed some on my face and that woke me up pretty quick. I wiped my face off on Johnny's jacket and then sat down on the back steps. The hill the church was on dropped off suddenly about 20 feet from the back door. You could see for miles and miles. It was like sitting on the top of the world. When you haven't got anything to do, you remember things in spite of yourself. I could remember every detail of the whole night, but it had the unreal quality of a dream. This seemed much longer than 24 hours since Johnny and I had met Dally at the corner of Pickett and Sutton. Maybe it was. Maybe Johnny had been gone a whole week and I just slept. Maybe he'd already been worked over by the fuzz and was waiting to get the electric chair since he wouldn't tell where I was. Maybe Dally had been killed in a car wreck or something and no one would ever know where I was and I just die up here alone and turn into a skeleton. My overactive imagination was running away with me again. Sweat ran down my face and back and I was trembling. My head swam and I leaned back and closed my eyes. And I guess it was partly delayed shock. Finally, my stomach calmed down. I relaxed a little, hoping that Johnny would remember cigarettes. I was scared, sitting there by myself. I heard someone coming up through the dead leaves toward the back of the church, and I ducked inside the door. Then I heard a whistle, long and low, ending in a sudden high note. I knew that whistle well enough. It was used by us and the Shepherd gang for Who's There. I returned it carefully. Yes, dear?
I spilled water.
Yes, you did. Good job.
That's crazy.
Oh, you don't. You use your sleeve.
I don't want to do that.
No, I don't want to have a kid spill water.
Ah.
I knew that whistle well enough. It was used by us and the Shepherd gang for Who's There. I returned it carefully, then darted out the door so fast I fell off the steps and sprawled flat under Johnny's nose. I propped myself up on my elbows and grinned up at him. "Hey, Johnny, fancy meeting you here." He looked down at me. "I swear, Pony Boy, you're getting to act more like Two-Bit every day." I tried unsuccessfully to cock an eyebrow. "Who's acting?" I rolled over and sprang up, happy that someone was there. "What'd you get?" "Come on inside." Dally told us to stay inside. We went in, and Johnny dusted off the table with his jacket and started taking things out of the sack and lining them up neatly. A week's supply of bologna, 2 loaves of bread, a box of matches, Johnny went on. I got tired of watching him do it all, so I started digging into the sack myself. Whee! I sat down on a dusty chair and stared. A paperback copy had gone with the wind. How'd you know I always wanted one? It's a book that came out a long time ago, but it was about the Civil War. It had a whole bunch of like action and fighting and stuff like that in it.
I read that book.
Well, I'm aware. That's why I'm charging her points, even if it's her birthday. At some point, you're gonna have to learn.
Him.
But soon, maybe I'll get to move her seat to a whole new location. What's up, Rocky? I know. At some point, we figure out what the issue is.
I read that book in 5th grade.
Did you? Go you. It's a big book. Yeah.
Is there a movie called Gone with the
There
Wind?
is also a movie called Gone with the Wind.
Dang.
Sat down, going, Johnny reddened. I remembered you saying something about it once, and me and you went to see that movie, remember? I thought you could maybe read it out loud, help kill time or something. Gee, thanks. I put the book down reluctantly. I wanted to start it right then. Peroxide, a deck of coffee. Suddenly I realized something. Johnny, wait, you ain't thinking of... Johnny sat down, pulled out his knife. We're gonna cut our hair. You're gonna bleach yours. He looked at the ground carefully. They'll have our descriptions in the paper. We can't fit them. Oh no! My hand flew to my hair. No, Johnny, not my hair. It was my pride. It was long and silky, just like soda's, only a little redder. Our hair was tough. I mean, we didn't have to even use much grease on it. Our hair labeled us greasers, too. It was our trademark. The one thing we were proud of. Maybe we couldn't have Corvairs or Madras shirts, but we could have hair. We'd have to anyway if we got caught. You know the first thing the judge does is make you get a haircut.
No, they don't.
They didn't.
They do?
Yeah.
I don't see why, I said sourly. Dally could just as easily mug somebody with short hair. With the whole hair thing, if you don't know, you guys know what hydrogen peroxide?
Oh,
Yeah. It's a thing. It's an off-brand alcohol that doesn't sting.
Yeah. So it's like the little brown bottle that was when your parent, like when you got like a scab or like messed up your knee when you were a kid. Scab. It's like when you and your parents would like pour the little bubbly stuff on there and it would bubble up, and that's what hydrogen peroxide is. You can also use it in your hair. It works like a bleaching agent, so if you just pour it into your hair and scrub it, and then you go sit in the sun and let the sun hit it, it fades your hair. And so it's not gonna like automatically turn you from like dark hair to white blonde, but it can lighten your hair quite a bit if you put it into it and then let the sun hit it and activate it. So that's what they're gonna do. Use the knife to cut their hair so it's shorter, and they're gonna use that to lighten Ponyboy's hair.
Doesn't
You
that
can't
fit
do
in that-
Johnny's, he'll explain why in a moment, but this way they don't fit the descriptions in the paper. Harrison?
Keeps cutting in and out.
Yeah, I know.
It's annoying.
Yeah, I agree. Alright.
Like some people.
No.
Yeah, I know.
What's that 7 points? I couldn't hear you.
I didn't even say nothing.
I wasn't sure I could.
Bro, what?
I don't know either. It's just a way of trying to break us. They can't really do anything to guys like Curly Shepherd or Tim. They've had about everything done to them. And they can't take anything away from them because they don't have anything in the first place. So, they cut their hair. I looked at Johnny imploringly. Johnny sighed. I'm gonna cut mine too. And wash the grease out. But I can't bleach it. I'm too dark-skinned to look okay blonde. Oh,
He's black.
no, he's part Native American or Mexican, they say at one point in the book, so he just has like a darker complexion. Oh, come on, pony boy. It'll grow back. Make sure. Ah, there we go. Okay, I said wide-eyed. Get it over with. Johnny flipped out the razor edge of his switch, took hold of my hair, and started sawing on it. I shuddered. Not too short, Johnny, please. Finally, it was over with. My hair looked funny, scattered over the floor in tufts. It's lighter than I thought it was, I said, examining it. Can I see what I look like now? No, Johnny said slowly, staring at me. We gotta bleach it first. After I'd sat in the sun for 15 minutes to dry the bleach, Johnny let me look in the old cracked mirror we'd found in a closet. I did a double take. My hair was even lighter than soda pops. I'd never combed it to the side like that. I mean, it just didn't look like me. It made me look younger, scarier too. Boy, howdy, I thought. This really makes me look tough. I looked like a blasted pansy. I was miserable. Johnny handed me the knife. He looked scared too. Cut the front, thin out the rest. I'll comb it back after I wash it. By the way, when was the last time Johnny used his knife?
To kill
that kid.
Bobby.
So realize that it probably still has little bits of Bob on there too.
Ew.
Why would you say that?
To put the thought in your head.
And
Johnny, I said tiredly, you can't wash your hair in that freezing water in this weather. You'll get a cold. He only shrugged. Go ahead and cut it. I did the best I could. He went ahead and washed it anyway, using the bar of soap he'd bought. I was glad I'd had to run away with him instead of Two-Bit or Steve or Dally. That'd be one thing they'd never think of. Soap. I gave him Dally's jacket to wrap up in, and he sat shivering in the sunlight on the back steps, leaning against the door, combing his hair back. It was the first time I could see that he had eyebrows. He didn't look like Johnny. His forehead was wider where his bangs had been. I mean, it would have been funny if we hadn't been so scared. He was still shivering with cold. I guess we're disguised. I leaned back next to him sullenly. I guess so. Oh, shoot, Johnny said with fake cheerfulness. It's just hair. Shoot nothing! It took me a long time to get that hair just the way I wanted it. And besides, this just ain't us. It's like being in a Halloween costume we can't get out of. Well, we gotta get used to it, Johnny said with finality. We're in big trouble, and it's our looks or us. I started eating a candy bar. I'm still tired. To my surprise, the ground blurred, and I felt tears running down my cheeks. I brushed it away hurriedly. Johnny looked as miserable as I felt. Oh, I'm sorry I cut all your hair off, pony boy. It ain't that, I said between bites of chocolate. I mean, not all of it. I'm just a little spooky. I really don't know what's the matter. I'm just mixed up. I don't know, Johnny said through chattering teeth as we went inside. Things have been happening so fast. I put my arm across his shoulders to warm him up. Two-Bit should have been in that little one-horse store. Man, we are in the middle of nowhere. The nearest house is 2 miles away. Things are just laying out wide open, just waiting for somebody slick like Two-Bit to come and pick him up. He could have walked out with half the store. He leaned back beside me, and I could feel him trembling. Good old Two-Bit, he said in a quavering voice. He must have been as homesick as I was. Remember how he was wisecracking last night? I said. Last night. I mean, just last night. We were walking Cherry and Marcia over to Two-Bit's. Just last night, we were laying in the light, looking up at the stars, dreaming. Stop it! Johnny gasped from between clenched teeth. Shut up about last night! I killed a kid last night. He couldn't have been, 17 or 18? I killed him! How'd you like to live with that? He was crying. I held him like Soda had held him the day we found him lying in the lot. I didn't mean to, he finally blurted out, but they were drowning you and I was so scared. He was quiet for a minute. There sure is a lot of blood in people. He got up suddenly, began pacing back and forth, slapping his pockets. What we gonna do? I was crying by then. It was getting dark and I was cold and lonesome. I closed my eyes and leaned my head back, but the tears came anyway. This is my fault, Johnny said in a miserable voice. He had stopped crying when I had started. For bringing a little 13-year-old kid along, you ought to go home. I mean, you can't get in any trouble. You didn't kill him? No! 14! I've been 14 for a month, and I'm in it as much as you are. I'll stop crying in a minute. I can't help it. He slumped down beside me. Oh, I didn't mean it like that, pony boy. Don't cry, Pony. We'll be okay. Don't cry. I leaned against him and bawled until I went to sleep. I woke up late that night. Johnny was resting against the wall. I was asleep on his shoulder. Johnny, you awake? I was warm and sleepy. Yeah, we ain't gonna cry no more, are we? No, we're all cried out now. We're getting used to the idea. We're gonna be okay now. That's what I thought, I said drowsily. Then, for the first time since Dally and I sat down behind those girls at the nightly double, I relaxed. We could take whatever was coming now. The next 4 or 5 days were the longest days I have ever spent in my life. We killed time by reading Gone with the Wind and playing poker. Johnny sure did like that book, although he didn't know anything about the Civil War, even less about plantations, and I had to explain a lot of it to him. It amazed me how Johnny could get more meaning out of some of the stuff in there than I could. I was supposed to be the deep one. Johnny had failed a year in school and never made good grades. He couldn't grasp anything that was shoved at him too fast, and I guess his teachers thought he was just plain dumb. But he wasn't. He was just, a little slow to get things. And he liked to explore things once he did get them. He was especially stuck on the Southern gentlemen, impressed with their manners and charm. I'll bet they were cool old guys, he said, his eyes glowing after I'd read the part about them riding into sure death because they were gallant. They remind me of Dally. Dally? I said, startled. Shoot, he ain't got any more manners than I do. And you saw how he treated those girls the other night. Soda's more like them Southern boys. Yeah, I don't know the manners bit, and the charm too, I guess, Johnny said slowly. But, all right, one night I saw Dally getting picked up by the fuzz, and he kept real cool and calm the whole time. They was getting him for breaking out the windows in the school building, and it was Two-Bit who did that, and Dally knew it, but he just took that sentence without batting an eye or even denying it. That's gallant. It was the first time I realized the extent of Johnny's hero worship for Dally Winston. Of all of us, Dally was the one I liked least. He didn't have Soda's understanding, or Dash, or Two-Bit's humor, or even Derry's Superman qualities. But I realized that these three appealed to me because they were like the heroes in the novels I read. Dally was real. I liked my books and clouds and sunsets. Dally was so real. He scared me. I'm going to stop there on page 76 with you. It's about halfway down. In chapter 6, I will give you a heads up. There is a big thing happening in chapter 6.
Yeah.
So when you get to it, try not to ruin it for others. Also, my favorite part is coming up in chapter 6, and my favorite character shows up in chapter 6. So I am going to take some time tomorrow to talk about my favorite character and my favorite scene. If you read chapter 6, my challenge to you is I'm going to ask tomorrow, what is it you think my favorite scene of the entire book is? And we'll see if you guys can figure it out. I'll be curious to see how well you do.
Is it? Wait, I don't want to spoil it.
Then you have to wait till tomorrow.
Can I
Well,
whisper it?
when we get done with class in a second, we'll see how close you got to it.
Yeah.
Hi, Juju.
Is your favorite character hot?
No.
Oh. Is it
Not even a little bit. Is
a
he?
boy?
It is a boy.
Will we get to see a picture of him tomorrow?
No. You just have to use your imagination.
Wait, was it in one of the...
Yes, but he's a minor character. But I still like him. For what he does in this one small part, he does one of my favorite things. And then,
He sells drugs.
I can't give anything away. You almost got me to give away an answer.
Probably kill